A U.S.-led drone strike has left at least 7 people dead in eastern Afghanistan. The attack targeted a car in the Sperah district of Khost province. Local officials say those killed in the air raid were Taliban militants. The U.S. carries out drone strikes in Afghanistan and a number of other Muslim countries, including Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen. Washington says the drone campaign targets militants, but high civilian casualties from the raids have fueled anti-U.S. sentiment in target countries. We're now joined by our correspondent Faiz Khurshid, who's with us via satellite from the Afghan capital Kabul to tell us more about this recent U.S.-led drone strike in Khost province of Afghanistan. Faiz.
Badia, this is the latest U.S. drone strike in eastern Afghanistan. As you point out, it happened in Khost province near the border with Pakistan, and it has been reported by Afghan intelligence sources. We understand that 7 insurgents were on board and their vehicle has been hit by a drone strike, and they were all members of the Haqqani network. This group has been found responsible for deadly bombings across Afghanistan, and now 7 members of the Haqqani group have been killed by a U.S. drone operation in that part of this country. Just 2 days ago, 18 other militants were killed in Paktika province, again in the east, and we see that the U.S. drone operations have escalated in recent weeks across Afghanistan. And most of the victims in recent weeks have been the Taliban insurgents, but yes, civilians have been also harmed. Just a few days ago, 5 civilians were killed in Lugar province in southern Afghanistan. Those deaths greatly angered Afghan officials, but we see a big change in the stance of the new government of Afghanistan when it comes to U.S. drone operations. The Afghan government tacitly supports U.S. drone operations against the Taliban insurgents, but the Afghan politicians have repeatedly warned the U.S. government against civilian casualties by their drone operations.
Faiz, the previous Afghan administration, the government of Hamid Karzai, albeit receiving a lot of criticism for not acting enough, he was at least vocal in condemning the U.S. drone strikes. A lot of criticism has now been pointed at the direction of the new administration of Ahmadzai, which, as you mentioned, may be rather complacent with regards to the drone strikes. How do the people of Afghanistan feel, and what do they expect from Kabul with regards to the drone attacks?
Badia, insecurity is the biggest challenge that the Afghan people are faced with, and a large number of people have been killed in 2014. The United Nations documented over 3,000 casualties. Most of the victims were women and children, and the bulk of these casualties has been attributed to Taliban insurgents. Now, the new government here in Kabul has laid out 2 options for the Taliban: either lay down your weapons or face more resistance. This is the new policy of the Afghan government. But yes, the former president of this country, Hamid Karzai, was very critical of U.S. military operations. At that time, that man was only looking for a political settlement through peace talks with the Taliban insurgents. He was against U.S. military operations. He still believes that U.S. military operations have not helped very much to bring peace and stability in this country, unlike President Ashraf Ghani. Ashraf Ghani is also supporting military operations. He's also supporting peace talks with the Taliban militants. Now it's up to the Taliban insurgents to accept more operations or peace talks with the Taliban, with the Afghan government. But as far as we understand, the Taliban has repeatedly rejected the Afghan government's peace invitation, because they say as long as foreign troops are stationed in Afghanistan, they're not going to talk with anyone, and there would be about 12,500 foreign troops that will be staying in this country until 2016. So it has put the new president of Afghanistan in a very difficult position to get the Taliban militants on the negotiating table.
Thank you very much, Faiz. Press TV's Faiz Khurshid joining us from the Afghan capital, Kabul.